After basically a year off of WWE television, Jimmy Uso returns. But instead of joining the island of relevancy, Jimmy looks right into the tribal chief's eyes and says, "You're not gonna talk to me like you talk to my brother. I ain't nobody's bitch." Setting up a huge plot twist within the Roman Empire. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. And WWE gives Bayley and Bianca Belair a segment that should have produced a base hit, a double at best. But instead, Bayley and Belair crushed a home run. Physicality, emotion, and a realness we don't see often enough in the women's division. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. And the world bared witness to the dream match we've all been waiting for. Right up there with Savage and Steamboat from WM3. And Michaels and Taker, WM25. And now we finally got to see Reginald versus Tamina Snuka. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. And in what could be an unpopular hot take, the Amplified Man sees a lot of improvement and great potential in this superstar on the women's roster. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. And this dude, after 9 years of being a beast, but being booked like a bitch, this particular individual finally looked like a top guy last night. Oh, it's SmackDown, May 7th, 2021. You know we gotta talk about it right now. Now, WWE has officially announced Roman Reigns vs. Cesaro, title on the line, next Sunday, WrestleMania Backlash. But if you ask me, WWE kind of put themselves into a pickle, backed themselves into a corner, because especially with Jimmy Uso coming back and adding that new, interesting dynamic to the Roman regime, and Roman surely cannot leave next Sunday without that gold strapped around his shoulder or waist. But at the same time, literally simultaneously, Cesaro cannot lose any momentum that he has currently built after 9 years of basic irrelevancy. The dude is finally bolstering up the charts. You can't have Cesaro lose any momentum coming out of WrestleMania Backlash next Sunday. So how does WWE play this? Roman has to walk out with the strap. Cesaro has to still look beast status. This is something WWE has struggled with, booking-wise, over the last several years. How to play this correctly. You add in Jimmy Uso, this new interesting dynamic in the Roman Empire, and you got a lot of questions. For the first time in a long time, at least some of them are interesting. Piques our curiosity just a little bit. Just a little. We'll take it with this company. Now, this SmackDown was under the guise, the labeling of Throwback Smackdown. And I absolutely love the opening to this show. We had the old school signature with the old WWF logo plastered everywhere. Michael Cole dressed like a Dollar General version of himself when he first arrived in the company. Pat McAfee is dressed as an 80s Vince McMahon. We had audio clips of Howard Finkel in the opening signature. Kevin Dunn did some of his production magic and had the old school Smackdown fist hanging high above the dome. It actually looked like it was straight out of the video game that they used to have. Maybe it was, I don't know. It's still Kevin Dunn's production magic to put that into the dome. But they brought back the fist, at least in some capacity. You can't have a Throwback Smackdown or Throwback WWE event and not have the old school fist. Then Roman Reigns hits the ring. Heyman and Uso is by the wayside. Paul Heyman gives a 10-bell salute to Daniel Bryan's WWE career. They try to... Roman's trying not to fucking smile during this thing. I fucking absolutely loved it. And this was acoustic style 10-bell salute because Paul Heyman said, "Bell dude, you don't gotta do a thing." And Paul Heyman just started to ding, ding, all the way to 10. So I thought this was absolutely brilliant, man. It's those little subtleties, you know what I mean, that actually make a big difference. I love that. It signifies the end of Daniel Bryan, at least for SmackDown. The wrestling world has taken this a little too extreme. Yes, it's a big deal because it's Daniel Bryan, but guys, it's not the same Daniel Bryan from 7 years ago, WrestleMania 30, during the Yes movement, when he's hoisting up a championship. This is a completely different Daniel Bryan. He's a different dude, and the passion, the connection with pro wrestling is not there anymore. That's his words, not the Amplified Man. You can tell, if you're a tried and true old school wrestling fan, you could tell since he's really come back, but especially during 2020 and all the way till today, you see that it's not there anymore. The connection, the passion is not there for Daniel Bryan. And as he has admitted several times, he's a family dude now. And he wants to be with his family and his kids more than he wants to be doing this. So, if you're a tried and true wrestling fan, you've been seeing this for a while now. It's just not that big of a deal if he doesn't sign with WWE. Now, if he goes to some place like AEW, of course that makes an impact. But let's not act like it's the same D-Bry from 7 years ago. It's just not. He's not that dude anymore. So it would still make an impact if he shows up to an Impact, or an ROH, or an AEW. But the whole wrestling world up in arms, like this is the biggest thing in the world, Daniel Bryan being a free agent, it's just not. And these are the same people that are probably declaring he had to win the Royal Rumble. And the same people declaring that he has to be in the main event of WrestleMania, making it an irrelevant triple threat match. And I just don't understand this forced revival of Daniel Bryan. The dude's an exceptional wrestler, no doubt. But it's just not, the feeling isn't there anymore. And it stems. The base of the root of the problem is that Daniel Bryan doesn't have the passion anymore and the connection for pro wrestling. Those are his words. So obviously we see that as fans, the connection is not going to be there with us to him like it once was. We all love Daniel Bryan, but this whole resurgence just feels so forced. I don't understand where that connection is. It's not there with the Amplified Man, I can tell you. And you guys know how much I love Daniel Bryan and how fun that time was 7 years ago. And how gut-wrenching it was when he had to retire, and how awesome it was when he came back. But, I mean, everybody is running this Daniel Bryan's contract expiring. Everybody is running this into the ground. Okay, it expired. He's going to re-sign with WWE more than likely, and we're going to get some more of this type of Daniel Bryan, a reduced Daniel Bryan. Or he'll be more on the creative side of things like he already was doing for SmackDown. Maybe he'll be doing that for Raw. Or maybe he shows up to another company and wrestles a lot less a year once this pandemic is over. Good for him. Good for the company that grabs him. But I'm not going to act like this is the biggest thing in the fucking world. I'm not. His contract expired. Okay. He's gonna weigh it out, his options. He's gonna be smiling everywhere he goes, like not a care in the world, like he always does. Good for him. Because he knows he's got all these people swinging on his fucking balls. I don't see the big thing in D-Bry anymore. I don't. It's not there. The connection's not there. You know? Now he's just fucking... It's more of a fucking hobby for him now. Nah, man. I'm not buying into it. You know, wherever he goes, I'll give him his fucking props. We'll discuss it. We'll talk about it. Hopefully he makes an impact. And we'll move on. I'm not going to treat this guy like it's fucking the Rock coming back, or even though we've had our differences, CM Punk coming back. I'm not going to treat it like that, man. So we have the 10-bell salute acoustic style. I can fucking speak. Paul Heyman doing the ding ding. Roman's trying to keep from smiling. Love that, man. Roman rocks the mic after the ding ding salute. And Roman says he just gave D-Bry exactly what he wanted. He didn't want to... This is a quote from Roman. He didn't want to be here, so I got rid of him. No lies detected. Roman Reigns literally said, I gave Daniel Bryan literally what he said he wanted. More time at home. More time with his family. The passion ain't there. I'll take you out. So I love Roman's mic job afterwards, after Paul Heyman's salute. Roman gets on the mic and basically reiterates what BC has been saying. The fuck is everybody pissed off about? Why is this a big news story that Daniel Bryan's gone? This is what he wanted, and I gave it to him. I love Roman Reigns in this promo spot. Roman then goes on to say, we replaced him. And out comes the return of Jimmy Uso, finally. Now, we saw Jimmy a couple of times tops. One time in particular, a Hell in a Cell, when I believe that was Jey Uso versus Roman I Quit match. Something like that, and Jimmy came in. So we've seen him a couple of times here and there, but we have not seen the full throttle return, and we knew if Jimmy comes back, this could be an interesting dynamic, whether he aligns with Brother Jay in this Roman regime, or he goes against the Roman Empire. We knew Jimmy Uso was a vital piece to the puzzle. And sure enough, Jimmy Uso comes out last night. Cesaro hits the ramp right after, so Jimmy didn't get to do a speech. Right? We were all waiting for a speech. Instead, Cesaro hits the top of the ramp, but is quickly jumped by Seth Rollins. Holla, 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 playa. Teddy Long comes out. It is Throwback Smackdown, after all. So, WWE bestowed power upon and onto Teddy Long. So, Teddy comes out and announces Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. If Cesaro defeats Rollins, Cesaro will go for Roman's title at WrestleMania Backlash. Now, I love Rollins during this. Rollins is like, what about me? If Cesaro beats me, gets a title match, what do I get? And Seth is playing this off beautifully because it's realistic. Poor Seth is like, what the fuck do I get, man? Consolation prize? Do I get a fucking party kit from fucking Party City? Fucking some streamers, a fucking balloon, some of those fucking individual candies? What am I getting? So Rollins I loved in this too. We went to commercial just like that. When we came back, the Usos were still at ringside for Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. So they were obviously doing the dirty work of Roman Reigns. Roman was backstage. We saw a couple of clips of him with Paul Heyman just sitting down in his tribal chair, watching his tribal TV with his tribal advocate. But it was the Usos at ringside who were doing the dirty work, just in case. They wanted to make sure Cesaro does not win this motherfucker. Cesaro would eventually go on to defeat Rollins. There was a little bit of there was some outside shit going on with the Usos where Rollins didn't want their help. So Jay kind of took offense to that. Jay goes to turn Seth around like, dude, what the fuck? And Seth pushes Jay to the outside mat. Jimmy's like, you don't touch my brother. So Jimmy super kicks Seth Rollins. At this point, I believe the ref was trying to back up Cesaro, so the ref didn't see it. So Rollins gets dropped. By the time he gets back in, he's neutralized. And Cesaro picks up the W from that neutralizer. So I believe it was the neutralizer. Yeah, it was the neutralizer. I'm going to stick with that. Yes, because he got back in and Rollins was already rocked. So he was easy pick and Cesaro drops him. Listen, the chemistry was spot on here, and every sequence was performed to a near flawless level. So this was easily their best match and they've had a few in recent weeks. This is their best match easily, man. They just had, everybody seemed like they had it last night. I'm not saying I agree with the booking, nowhere near it. We had the fruit roll-ups, we had the schmazes. It was WWE at its fucking peak as usual. But everybody was rocking a special level to their game last night, and that made the show much more enjoyable to BC amplified. So I enjoyed this show a lot more than I usually do because everybody just went out there and said, listen, we got to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. We got to turn this absolute atrocious booking into as much gold as we possibly can. So performance-wise, they really went out there and tried to do their best. Everybody, top to bottom, really. So even though this was a rematch, man, Cesaro and Rollins actually did bring it, added some more layers to the dynamic of the Roman regime, and you saw the cracks within the Empire, and that would play out throughout the night. So, really good opening match there with Cesaro and Rollins, and Cesaro earns his shot for Roman Reigns' title next Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash. Backstage, as I said, we kept doing this throughout the night, kind of this dynamic within the Roman Empire. We see Jimmy Uso telling Roman Reigns, and I quote, he won't be talking to him like he talks to his brother. He ain't nobody's bitch. He literally tells this to Roman Reigns. You ain't gonna talk to me like you talk to my brother. I ain't nobody's bitch. Man, that was like, he's stepping up right out of the gate. It's believable. For a year, I've been watching you degrade my own brother, your cousin. You ain't doing that to me, bro. You can try to do whatever you want to do to me or think you're going to. You ain't gonna fucking succeed. I'm not having it. And the believability, the realism in this promo was just beautiful. You had another backstage segment later on because, like I said, they kept going back to this story. And BC always tells you that's what makes a good show. You have to start off with something really interesting at the top of the show. In this case, Jimmy comes back, adding to that dynamic within the regime. And then, to have a good show, you have to keep on going back to that interesting story. And if you do it correctly, you have a culminating moment at the end of the show that'll cascade everybody to the pay-per-view. Hopefully that makes sense, man. That's the formula to a winning show. An example of that is starting a show off with the old tried and true, somebody's in the parking lot waiting for somebody to arrive, right? That's interesting to a tried and true fan and to a casual fan. It's simplistic, but it's so effective. Wrestler X is waiting in the parking lot for Wrestler Y to arrive. That's interesting. What the fuck's gonna happen when he arrives? Does he know that this dude's waiting for? Is he ready? What's this dude gonna do when he arrives? It's interesting, and they keep going back to that parking lot until Wrestler Y arrives. It sounds simplistic, but it captivates an audience. You start off with something really interesting at the top, you keep going back to it, and at the end you have a culminating moment. If you do it correctly, it'll cascade everybody's interest to the actual pay-per-view that you want to sell. It's a simplistic formula, and unfortunately WWE, a lot of these wrestling companies today, they get away from it. And they started off with some fucking random match, or they started off with a fucking insignificant, irrelevant obnoxious promo that nobody cares about. This, even though it's subtle, simplistic at its core, Jimmy Uso coming back and adding cracks to the family dynamic, it's still effective. So you had Jimmy Uso backstage looking at Roman's eyes, in his eyes, and saying, I ain't nobody's bitch. You ain't going to talk to me like you talk to my brother. And then afterwards, Jay tries to talk some common sense into Jimmy Uso. Dude, all you got to do is fall in line, and we could have the world. And Jimmy just won't have it. And he's trying to tell Jay, let's go for our tag titles. We're the best tag team in wrestling history. We don't need this shit, and you don't need to be degraded. In the dynamic between Jimmy and Roman's promo was amazing, but the dynamic later on between Jimmy and Jay was their best work ever in promos. Best work ever. And when they originally turned heel for the Uso Penitentiary gig, that's when they really started to come into their own on the mic. But backstage last night, man, that's their best work. I could not be more happy, proud of these boys last night, man. This whole storyline evolved beautifully, more than anything because of the performances. Roman, Jimmy, Jay, obviously fucking Paul. Everybody really cracked that Grand Slam together last night. Everybody was on base, and fucking Jimmy Uso just hit everybody home, Grand Slam fashion, man. Right? That's the way to look at it. Roman was on third base. Jay was on second base. Paul Heyman was on first. Jimmy came back and fucking cracked the Grand Slam and sent them all home. It was beautiful. So that dynamic really took over, especially hour number 1. To end the hour, we had Carmella versus Ruby Riott. Now, Carmella ends up defeating Riott. Wasn't a long match, maybe 5 minutes tops. Carmella ends the match on a code of silence. Ruby Riott immediately taps out. Mad props to Ruby. I don't know if this was in the scripted finish. I don't know if WWE, the agent of the match, usually for the women, it is Mrs. Natty. Mr. Natty. Who is it? Fucking Tyson Kidd, right? I think Tyson is the one that always does the women's booking, match-wise anyway, agent. So I don't know if this was scripted or not, but I caught how fast Ruby tapped. And if it wasn't scripted or it was definitely a huge push for Carmella. It really helps Carmella look badass and that code of silence look legit. So if Ruby did that on her own to kind of help out Carmella, I think that's awesome. I saw how fast she tapped out, and that really helps out the believability for Carmella and that move. But both ladies, even though it wasn't even 5 minutes, they both busted their asses to do a lot with those 5 minutes. Now, obviously, Ruby Riott, we know there's that talent in there. Now, whether Vince McMahon ever sees that in her and gives her a push remains to be seen. But I also see that in Liv Morgan, so it's a shame when they split up. They had nothing for them. They brought them right back, and they still have nothing for them. I can't stand the way they book people like Ruby and Liv. But I gotta give my props to Carmella. I can't shade Carmella because somebody else was being shaded. Carmella is really piquing the curiosity of the Amplified man lately. That's an unpopular hot take, I get it. BC, what are you talking about, man? No way. Yes way. Nobody speaks for me. Carmella is not only improving, but she is busting her ass now more than ever. I feel like there's a level of confidence that Carmella is fucking with that she's never had before. Even though she always said, I don't care what people think and this and that, you kind of felt like she was still reeling from the backlash of a said match or a storyline that the fans never gravitated to, and there was maybe some even resentment, and it just came across. Now Carmella is really believing in herself. Even if you see a Carmella botch, she jumps back with the quickness. Like, that ain't nothing. I'll bounce back. I'll be even better. So I love this Carmella that I'm seeing, man. And there's no way we can put her in a category, and this isn't even shade. It's just truth. Talent-wise, you can't put her in a category with, like, Lana. Or even a Dana Brooke, who I feel has been improving, by the way. but people still want to lump everybody into a category. I don't think you can put Carmella in a category with a Mandy Rose or a Lana. Carmella, I think, has graduated to that next tier. Is it the tier of Sasha Banks and Ember Moons? Of course not. But I think she went up the next ring, man. It's not think even. I'm trying to be nice here. I know for a fact she has. I dissect pro wrestling on a whole nother level. I've been doing this since I was a fucking kid. Before there was a platform like this for me to voice my reviews and critiques, I was doing it as a fucking kid. I always viewed pro wrestling differently than everybody else. I was always a mile ahead of everybody else. I always looked for the little subtleties, the little details that weren't so little that helped make up the bigger project and picture, story and program. So mad props to Carmella. She's really, really picking it up, man. And I think if she stays on this trajectory and keeps fucking with that level of confidence, I'm telling you, man, by next year, Carmella is going to be having, don't be surprised anyway. Mark my words. By next year, don't be surprised if Carmella actually pulls out a classic match. A match that we're all just fucking wowed by. Because it's imminent, man. It truly is. Again, unpopular hot take. That's fine. I don't give a fuck. I know what I'm witnessing. I know what I watched, what I've been watching. So she's really picking it up. And again, Ruby, you have to, it takes two to tango. You have to have a good dancing partner if you're going to do the fucking waltz. You got to fucking give Ruby some credit. That initial, immediate tap out to the code of silence truly helps out Carmella. Full throttle. And that ended hour number 1. Sip of coffee, we hit up hour number 2. Alright, that was a little more than a sip of coffee. I pretty much downed the rest of it. So let's rock out hour number 2. Kicking off with Bayley celebrating the women's champions from yesterday. So Bayley's middle of the ring. And she's trying to play nice Bayley, right? Of course, it's all a sham. But she's got some of the ladies from yesteryear up on the Tron. She acknowledges Alundra Blaze. She acknowledges Jacqueline, Trish Stratus, Lita, Molly Holly. This is Throwback Smackdown. So it was cool to see all these visuals up on the Tron. And she even includes Bianca Belair, current champion. So Bianca gets a shout out. Of course, this was more shade than a shout out. And Bayley proceeds to talk that trash. This brings out the EST, Bianca Belair. Bayley tries hitting a cheap shot, but Belair just tosses her around like she's Alexa's ragdoll Lily. She just chucked Bayley like Aaron Rodgers throws a Hail Mary. It was pretty badass, actually. That shows you the strength of Bianca Belair. But Bayley is able to gain the upper hand. I think she took out like her knee or some shit. So Bayley gains the upper hand and rips, I believe, an earring out of Bianca. So Bianca went to take, now you know, when a woman takes off her fucking shoes, her heels, or takes out the fucking earrings, that means that woman means business. That means you best run. Men, get the fuck out of Dodge. Just go. Because everybody is fucking getting taken out when a woman takes her earrings out. I've learned that over the years. That and the shoes, man. That's when you know you just got to go. So, fucking Bianca was about to take out her other earring, and Bayley cheap shots her, rips it out for her. And then this was kind of cool because Bayley stomps on the braid of Bianca Belair. So Bayley is literally standing on Bianca's hair, the big long braid, and Belair can't get up, obviously. She's like the kid from the Christmas Story. Help, I can't get up, guys. Help, I can't get up. So Bayley takes another cheap shot while she's down, and then the rose plant. And guys, I mean, the rose plant's pretty badass. If sold correctly, I mean, it's a thing of beauty. Well, Bianca Belair sold the house on this. Bayley hits Bianca Belair with that rose plant. Bianca Belair, man, sold this like she literally got tombstoned by The Undertaker 6 times. beautiful. She was like rock. The moment of impact, her eyes were like glazed over, like she was in fucking La La Land. It was absolutely beautiful, not just by Bayley performing the Rose Plant, but the selling, and that's what I mean. Selling is nearly as important as the offense being given. The defense is just as important. So anyway, I just really enjoyed that whole end sequence. Right into the Rose Plant. Just a really, really good segment with these gals. This is a physicality and an emotion and a realness that we don't usually see, not just with the women's division, but any storyline in WWE. We don't see this anymore. And I'm sure that on paper, they thought this was just going to be a base hit for the ladies, right? This is pretty simplistic. Have them both go out, cut a promo on one another, then they beat up each other, and that's that, right? Simplistic booking for WWE. But what these girls went out there and did, these ladies, these fucking superstars, they went out there and they fucking took that base hit and they hit the home run. They said, let's go out there and let's do the deed. That was actually an interesting, really good segment to start off the second hour. Backstage, Jimmy and Jay, as I already said, they had their promo where Jay is trying to have Jimmy fall in line. Jimmy's trying to tell Jay, dude, let's just be tag champions and be done with Roman. So there's obviously that fucking split. The crack in the Roman Empire is never more evident. Then we go back to the ring. Dominic Mysterio defeats Dolph Ziggler via the awe-inspiring, ultra-devastating Faroot roll-up. You know in WWE can't nobody get up from the fruit roll-up. And Dolph Ziggler is no different. Dominic rolls him up. However, if there was ever a time to hit a roll-up, this was it, right? Dolph was feeling it last night. Dolph was on another level last night. He was talking that trash. He was too cocky. Took his eye off the ball, and Dominic caught him off guard with a roll-up. And that's what I mean. That's why I don't like roll-ups being done so often. Because when it's finally used in a correct way like this situation, it's not as meaningful. At least Dolph was really playing up his character last night, really sold the roll-up. Like, what the fuck? And I think Dominic is the exact person you would think would be winning with a roll-up. So this is everything that a roll-up should be. We just see it oh so many times, too many times, especially in WWE. But in pro wrestling as a whole, I feel like the agents, the bookers, Vince McMahon, if we're talking more specific WWE, they depend on the fruit roll-up way too often as a scapegoat, as a way to not put too much time and energy into a situation, not put enough care into something that needs care, so they just say, fruit roll-up, have it end with a roll-up, give them a roll-up finish, end it with a roll-up. And they rest on the roll-up far too often, just so they don't have to get creative. That's what I can't stand about it. But Dominic beating Dolph with the roll-up in this situation, this is exactly how the roll-up needs to be used. And this is the exact two people you would expect it from, Dolph, Dominic. And I like their performances. It goes back to what I said earlier, man. All the performances last night were really fucking good. Even Tamina Snuka. Tamina had a matchup with Reginald. Tamina actually defeated Reginald via DQ because Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, which were by ringside, obviously their connection with Reginald, they interfered, causing the DQ, so Tamina wins this match. The match was basically cut and paste of Sasha Banks versus Reginald from a couple months ago. You guys remember that intergender match. This was basically cut and paste. Just you take out Sasha, you insert Tamina Snuka. Now, obviously, Sasha Banks is immaculately better than Tamina wrestling-wise, but the whole match is basically Reginald flipping and diving and escaping Sasha, so it doesn't really matter who's in there with Reginald. The whole match, the base of it, is Reggie flying around his opponent. You know, catch me if you can, basically. So it doesn't matter who's in there with him. It's all about Reggie doing this ninja shit so he can't be caught. That's what I mean about cut and paste. The same thing I saw with Sasha and Reginald from a couple months ago. So this one, just insert Tamina. Tamina wins via DQ. I do like mad props to Tamina for really selling her frustration with Reggie. She didn't just phone it in. right? This is a ridiculous concept. I don't mind intergender matches, but this is a ridiculous concept. It can work if everybody plays their part. Everybody played their part. Reginald did exactly what he was told to do, and he played it off beautifully. Tamina went in there, sold the frustration, pissed off, finally got her hands on Reginald, started wailing away on the dude. So I gotta give Tamina props here for what she was given. She gave her best. That's all I ever ask for, man. Improve. Get better. Don't just rest. Don't just be average. Don't be mediocre. That's, in an odd way, that's the best I've seen Tamina emotion-wise. Believability-wise. So in a way, this intergender match actually helped Tamina a great deal. In the overall landscape. So, this is the most passion I've seen from Tamina ever. Keep it up. Keep it up. It's all on how you're selling yourself. Nobody is going to be captivated to you if you don't sell yourself. One of the worst wrestlers, people always say to this day, the wrestlers themselves, was the Ultimate Warrior. But the Ultimate Warrior was one of the best wrestlers in the eyes of the majority of anybody who followed pro wrestling back in the day. The Ultimate Warrior was one of the guys. You don't necessarily have to be the best wrestler. That's the best part about this business. If you have that it factor, if you can connect, if you can get emotional to another degree, if you have a believability and a realism that's unmatched or unopposed, unattested, you could be something. Sell yourself. People always tell me, BC, you're more captivating than the actual shows. You're more captivating than the entire roster. BC, you cut better promos than the roster. BC, you have more charisma than the roster. BC, you have more of the it factor. You're showing more emotion, more amplification. And when I get told this time and time again, I am humbled by the words. I'm thankful for the appreciation. I'm glad I can entertain thousands of people on this platform. But on the flip side, I'm always like, that's sad. That the ones on our TV, the ones in that company, can't match BC Amplified. Can't match this YouTuber. That's sad. Humbled in one aspect, on the flip side, I'm like, that sucks. That I'm more entertaining than the shows. Anyway, that's the best I've seen Tamina. Emotion-wise and passion and just, believability. I want to see more of that. If we're going to see Tamina Natty in this tag team, and they got a tag title match next Friday, they're not going to wait till Backlash. At least not for now. My guess is you're going to see this match next Friday. There's going to be a schmaz ending, and it's going to turn into a title rematch at WrestleMania Backlash, either the pre-show or the actual event. So whatever. Just bring your A games. That's all we're asking, man. The booking, that's another set of headaches. Talent-wise, bring your fucking A game. There's no excuse. Every fucking show, every second that you get out there, and we know McMahon is not giving you a lot of time as it is. So every second he gives you, do your best, man. Not for McMahon. Those are imaginary brass rings. They're not fucking real. Even if you do exactly what this dude tells you, he's gonna fucking flip the script on you. Do your personal fucking best. Grow your individual skill set. And then people will believe in you. And then you're off to the races. Anyway, that's a fucking... those are classes that BC could literally teach the actual talent. Right? When everyone said, Fleet, what do you know, man? You're not in WWE. You don't know, man. Oh, bro, I could teach them a whirlwind of shit that would make everybody on that roster better than they are. I am a masterclass. Every time I put out a video or a live stream, it's a masterclass in professional wrestling. Professor Amplified Man has arrived. Classes in session. These are just free masterclasses. That's how I look at it. And I know a lot of these wrestlers watch this channel, man. You guys know that. You guys know I'm not going to go over the names again, but you guys know firsthand, if you view this channel often, right in that WWE locker room. These wrestlers are watching the Amplified, man. You guys know I got a good buddy in AEW, or I consider him a good buddy. A good acquaintance, maybe. We don't hang out. We don't hang out that much, but person right in AEW who shows this channel so much love, man, behind the scenes. And I'm so grateful. So, and he tells me firsthand how many people are actually watching this channel. It's amazing. It's humbling, but at the same time, man, I just hope people can learn from it. I want to see pro wrestling really fucking boom once more. Will it ever be what we saw in the Attitude Era? Probably not, but I want to see it boom. We then go into, and afterwards, by the way, after Tamina won with via DQ from Nia Jax and Shayna interfering, Shayna basically snaps her arm, just wails it back, stomps on it, and then Nia takes Tamina outside the ring, and Samoa drops her into the barricade. So, some good physicality at least, man. Tamina got fucking rocked, and Tamina sold it fucking good. That's what I mean. Tamina was at the top of her game last night, wherever that is. That's in the eye of the beholder, but at least she was at the top of her game, man. Main event was a 10-man schmaz. I usually do not review these type of matches because they're just a circus sideshow. However, I love the pre-match backstage promos between both teams. For Throwback Smackdown, they gave it a Survivor Series feel. Profits, Owens, Big E, and Nakamura lose to Corbin, Cruz, Zayn, Otis, and Gable. Corbin, of all people, pins Nakamura. And that's how we basically end the show. So Corbin being the ultimate survivor. If I look at it like Survivor Series, it wasn't an elimination match, but still, I mean, it had the vibes with the pre-match interviews. I really enjoyed that. It got me at least watching this circus sideshow, and the match was actually good for a circus sideshow. But Corbin winning at the end, it's like all of that was for Baron Corbin. This isn't even shade to Corbin. They have to realize Corbin is just not connecting. It's dry. It's just dry, and I don't mind Corbin. As a dude, I'd sit down and have a beer, a coffee. It seems like my type of peeps. But I'm just not, there's not a connection. Character-wise, pro wrestling-wise, there's not. It's dry. Making him a king didn't help one bit. They have to go back to the drawing board. I'm not saying the dude needs to be out of WWE or there's no place for him, but you got to go back to the drawing board. And I'm also not down with him defeating Shinsuke. 10 dudes are in this match, and you chose Shinsuke to eat that L. Shinsuke had to do the job. I'm just not buying that. That didn't sit well with me. However, on the flip side, watching Apollo end this show, because Apollo was on the ropes taunting the team he just beat, and he had that gold belt right here. It's kind of half on his shoulder, half in the air. So you see Apollo with that gold belt, and you see his team around him. For the first time since Apollo has been on that main roster, some would say long overdue, I'm one of them, he looked like the man. Or at least a man in that company, and not just a catering crusader like he used to be. He was the dude who had the gold belt, and he had a plethora of individuals behind him. Apollo looked like a superstar last night. We all knew he was. Just book the dude properly. That's all we're asking. And he ended that show. So I had a bad taste in my mouth with Corbin defeating Nakamura. But Apollo, man, in that lasting visual, man, that was so good. Him and Cesaro. In fact, that didn't end the show. There was another whole segment. What am I talking about? That culminating moment that I was speaking of earlier. You start the show off good, which they did with Jimmy Uso's return. You build on it with the fraction, the cracks within the Roman regime, and then you end it with a captivating moment, hopefully. Well, we had that at the end of this show, so this 10-man schmaz was not the finish. But still, Apollo being that visual, the ending visual of that match, fucking great. I've been waiting for that. The actual lasting visual was Cesaro, and I'll get to that in a second. But just the fact of having Apollo and Cesaro look like fucking superstars and being booked as such, that was good, man. That was really good. You know, more of that, please. Less of people like Nakamura losing, though. You know, I hate building someone up by tearing someone else down. Come on, bro. We can get better than that. And then, of course, and again, the final segment was reserved for the Roman Jimmy J. Uso storyline. Just as I said, every wrestling show, every single one needs to follow the formula. The simplistic formula that needs to be activated for every wrestling show. Something intriguing at the top of the show, build on it throughout the show, and then have a culminating moment at the end. They followed that formula finally last night. That needs to be done every show. So we culminated here with Roman J. Uso and Paul Heyman. Middle of the ring, Roman tries to speak, but Jimmy Uso interrupts and hits the ring. Good dialogue with Jimmy Uso remaining defiant. Roman says, and I quote, "I'm not going to go back and forth with you. It's simple. Fall in line and acknowledge me, or you can take your ass home." End quote. So Jimmy literally leaves the ring. You could tell he's kind of conflicted. He stops halfway up the ramp, but he says, nah, I gotta do this. He starts to go up. Jey Uso goes after him, pleading for him to reconsider. Jey is again telling Jimmy, you're making this harder than it has to be. Just follow in line. Follow in line, acknowledge him, and we could run this. And Jimmy is not having it. Meanwhile, in the ring, Roman is left alone and Cesaro takes full advantage, taking him out. Jey Uso goes to save Roman, but Jimmy holds him back. And by the time Jey is able to hit the ring, it's too late. Cesaro is already on fire and takes Jey Uso out as well. Jimmy is really conflicted at this point because Roman is one thing, but now we just saw his brother get taken out by Cesaro. So Jimmy, conflicted, decides to hit the ring to save his brother, again, more so than Roman. But to no avail. Cesaro delivers a neutralizer to everyone. Roman got a first of all, it was Jey Uso got a neutralizer. Jimmy Uso then got a neutralizer. And Roman even got a neutralizer. Cesaro looking booked B status. The show ends with many questions within the tribal family, and Cesaro, after 9 years, finally looking like the beast we all knew he was. SmackDown fades to black. You had the roll-ups, you had the schmaz matches, you had the questionable booking. Wouldn't be a WWE show if it didn't have all of that. But damn, this show stood out a lot more than in recent memory. This was easily, for BC, the best SmackDown of the year. Performances were at an all-time high. Even when they were given shit, they went out there and did the best with it. There was a fucking story that I care about. I've been waiting for Jimmy to come back because I knew that story dynamic was going to be next level, and it leaves the questions, man. Who's going to turn on who? Will Jimmy fall in line? Because I can see that. I can see if Jimmy is now with them. You know, and a little stable is formed. I could see that. I could see Jimmy going off on his own and having a badass little feud like we saw with Jey and Roman. Yeah, on paper, you probably think, oh, Jey Roman for fucking 4 months, that's what we're going to see. Just because it's cousin versus cousin. But it ended up being some great storytelling. And they're family. So, of course, the gel and the chemistry was there next level to another degree. I think Jimmy can have, obviously we saw that last night. Jimmy can add that as well. I'm into it, you know, and I don't know how they do Cesaro and Roman next week for WrestleMania Backlash. Roman cannot lose that match. He cannot walk away without that title, but Cesaro has to save face and look dominant. Cesaro needs to be monster status coming out of Backlash, but he can't have gold. This is a situation I said in AEW. Darby Allin should not be walking out this upcoming Wednesday without that title. Darby Allin in this whole title reign, and you gave him the main event the last few weeks on AEW Dynamite, just to have Darby Allin drop that title on a fucking Dynamite, not even at a pay-per-view, not even at Double or Nothing? So Darby can't lose that title, but Miro, formerly known as Rusev, Miro cannot go in there and not win the title. You booked him tragically since he got to AEW. No better than Vince McMahon booked him as Rusev in WWE. So he can't go in there and not get the title. But you can't have Darby lose the title. So they AEW backed themselves into a fucking corner. WWE basically did this. Because they've proven time and time again they don't know how to have somebody walk away with the title and still have somebody save face. Still have somebody look like a fucking beast. They never do it with Bray Wyatt. They just have Bray fucking lose and fucking that's it. Look like a fucking chump. It's Bray fucking Wyatt. The dude's bringing in the numbers for you. Bray Wyatt is captivating your audience more than anybody else, character-wise, and you treat him like shit time and time again. I hope all of this and what we saw last night, this beast Cesaro, finally after 9 years, I hope it's not just to feed him to Roman next Sunday. Because he has to be fed to Roman. He's got to take the L here. This is what I mean. How do you do it? I don't know, man, but it leaves questions. But as far as the show itself, man, you know, it had all the hiccups that I can't stand. As I said, the schmazzes, it had the fucking fruit roll-ups, it had the questionable booking. But damn, man, the show, the flow of it, the throwback, and just seeing the WWF logo, without the F, obviously, but the old school logo, hearing the old voices of the old school Vince McMahon when he was just the hype guy. I mean, he always owned it, but when he was hyping up, they even played the WrestleMania theme, man. They played the WrestleMania theme at one point. I mean, it was some cool old... They replayed some old clips, some of my favorite moments, like when Stone Cold and Booker T were battling through a fucking supermarket. I just love that, man. You talk out of the box. You talk having fun and getting creative. Whether people thought it was obnoxious or not, that's fine. Pro wrestling can be obnoxious a lot of the time and still be fucking awesome. I remember when Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch were all beating the shit out of each other while they were in, like, police cars. Do you guys remember that? They were all getting arrested at the same time. Charlotte somehow was still driving... No, was it Ronda? Somebody was still able to, like, press the gas pedal as they're cuffed. They smash into Charlotte's fucking car. So I think it was Ronda who fucking pressed the gas pedal. The cop car hits another one that Charlotte was in, so Charlotte's able to get out. Charlotte's beating the shit out of Becky while Becky's in another car fucking cuffed. Wrestling can be obnoxious. We're gonna fucking love it. The Undertaker used to shoot out lightning bolts. We all loved it. Papa Shango did voodoo. We all loved it. Bray Wyatt is fucking supernatural, supposedly. We fucking can love it. He brings in the highest numbers. Alexa and him getting holy shit chants at WrestleMania. The only segment at WrestleMania after 2 nights that got holy shit chants was Alexa and Bray's segment. We love this shit. It can be obnoxious. Have fun. Get creative. Booker and Stone Cold in a supermarket beating the fuck out of one another. I will take that over 99.99% of the shit I've seen over the last 15 years. Easily, I'll take that. So a lot of throwback. Maybe and that's why that nostalgia made it even better last night. But performances, man. In the storyline. Jimmy finally back. Cesaro being booked like a beast. Bayley and Bianca going the distance with the time that they had. And really hitting a grand slam with that segment. Saw a lot of good last night, man. A lot of good. Can't say it's all on booking's behalf. But for the wrestlers, man, good shit. It's good shit. BC Amplified, kick that ass this weekend, man. We got a long weekend ahead of us. We gotta hit the road. We gotta get our next coffee first. I need another coffee. Then we're gonna hit the road for a long weekend, and we'll talk to you guys from Monday Night Raw next week, man. It's the go-home show already to WrestleMania Backlash. When you say there's too many pay-per-views, when BC tells you that, there's too many, man. It feels like WrestleMania just got over. And now it's Backlash. I'm sorry. Sorry, Vince. WrestleMania Backlash. The Amplified Man. Till next time. Coffees and ass whoopings. Think, be, live, amplified. Don't forget to get your merch down below, man. We got the hoodie down below. A bunch of awesome fucking shirts with BC saying, and my grandfather's too, man. I don't like you. Please stop talking. I don't like you. That's straight from my grandfather. He used to be at the pub. He just wanted to drink his fucking beer, be left alone. Somebody would try to talk to him, and he would tell him, please stop talking. I don't like you. And if they kept talking, my grandfather was putting you through a fucking wall. So we got the merch down below. Don't forget to smash that up. Subscribe if you haven't, or if you don't want to, then fuck off. I don't give a fuck. But the tube likes to fuck with us. I really appreciate the sub. What else? That's it. BC, I'm out. Go about your weekend. Whoop that ass. Check you later.